Hey everybody, I'm Christina Royster, host of the Young Black and Opinionated podcast. Make sure you subscribe wherever you're listening and leave me a rating and a review. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, subscribe to the channel so you never miss a video, and leave me a like if you like what you see here today. So we're talking all about the movie King Richard. This is a bonus episode of the podcast, and I just had to jump on and talk about this movie because it was really inspiring. I loved it. It was an awesome movie, and I would highly recommend it to everybody. I really think that everybody should see this movie. And so let me just give you a little background because of course you know I can never make it a long story short. I have to give you the long version. But it's a bonus episode, so this won't be too long. But I just have to tell you how the night before I saw the video, I had a long night and I was tired. So the next day I was so exhausted. I almost didn't make it to this movie screening. I was like, ugh, I was so tired. And then on top of that, I knew in the back of my mind that the movie was 2.5 hours long. So I was really hoping that it would not put me to sleep, and it did not. The movie kept my attention the whole time for 2.5 hours. Oh, I guess it was like 2 hours and 20 minutes, but whatever. It was a long movie, but I'm glad that I wasn't upset with the length because I feel like all of those details were really imperative to building up the story. And so the majority of the movie is Venus and Serena as youngsters. I think when the movie starts out, Venus is 12 and Serena is 10. And then the movie only really spans like 2 years of their career, like their early years when they first got started. And they didn't even have a coach. And their dad was just out there training them by himself, pitching them. So I don't want to give the whole movie away, but I'm sure you all know that this is a biography and that this really happened. So you can go find the information out there. It's not really a spoiler. But at one point, their dad was like out pitching them to coaches, trying to get them basically an expensive all-star, usually Caucasian white male coach for free. He was not trying to pay any money, and he was very frugal and he was very efficient. And so he was out there hitting the streets with a video that he recorded of himself, of Serena and Venus, and a pamphlet that he had typed up and printed out of his daughters, pitching them to coaches. And it all worked out, as we could see in the movie. And so a lot of people are saying, why is this movie about the world's two greatest female athletes so focused on their dad being the hero? And I would like to play devil's advocate and say that the movie is titled King Richard for a reason. Like, the movie is about King Richard Williams. It's not about Venus and Serena. I mean, it's obviously going to be about them in some way, but it was really about his tactics and his hands-on approach to their upbringing. Everything from education to family to sports. Like, he had a hand in everything. And I personally don't like when parents are kind of hovering and smothering, but it all worked out in the end, as we can see. So I mean, we can't really judge because it worked out for him. But basically, Will Smith did an awesome job playing Richard Williams. He really embodied the persona of Richard. It's not a comedy, but Will Smith was definitely funny in some parts. Like, I would love to go back and watch the archived interviews of Richard Williams because I would love to know if he acted like this in real life. At one point, he was having an important business meeting with some hoity-toity white folks, and he farted on purpose, kind of like an FU to them. And I was just like, how much of this is scripted and how much of this did Richard really do? Because from what I've heard, he kind of has a reputation for being hard on his girls. And so I thought he may have been an asshole or whatever. And he probably was an asshole, but you know what? It all worked out for him because he really was strict on his girls. He didn't want them going wayward. We've seen a lot of athletes recently, a lot of young athletes, the money and the fame go to their heads and they just go down the drain and they crash before they can even take off. And Serena and Venus really have great careers now. And I think it's because of their upbringing and their parents and that family atmosphere. I didn't even know before watching this movie that they had other siblings. They grew up with 3 other girls. So they had a family of 5 girls. And apparently, I mean, this is a spoiler. Apparently, Richard had some kids outside of the marriage. So, but we don't see them in the movie. We just see the 5 girls. And so 2 black girls grew up in Compton and became the tennis champions of the world. Like, people to this day call Serena Williams one of the best tennis players of all time. And it's funny because the movie really showed how Venus kind of came up a little bit quicker than Serena, and Serena was kind of in Venus's shadow, and it's crazy how the tables have turned, and now Serena is really the big star out of the two. And I mean, I just didn't know much about their upbringing at all, to be honest, before watching this movie, and now I'm glad that I do, because it truly was a Black history lesson. These young girls made history in a predominantly white sport. They crushed it. They killed the competition every single time. And so to see them now, that's what I'm saying, like, we see them now. We see Venus and Serena now, and you really can't speak about one without talking about the other. I honestly thought they were twins when I was growing up. I always just saw them together. I never realized that Venus, took off a lot quicker than Serena did. And it came down to resources, that sometimes they didn't have the resources to get them both a coach or whatever. But the main takeaway from this movie that I really wanted to share with y'all was, number one, Richard Williams had a plan for his daughters' lives before they were even born, a written out plan. I don't even want to know how many pages that plan was. He had it down to what they would eat, the journaling. He was going to teach them languages and sports. And I think he said they know 4 languages fluently in the movie. And he always put that first. He always put education and family first. And so what I learned from this movie was, have a plan for your life. I know it's easier said than done. Nobody's going to write out their life plan the way Richard Williams did. But the Bible says to have a plan and make it plain, write it out. And he did. He made out a whole entire manual for his kids' lives. And I'm sure they hated him for it. I'm sure it was annoying at times. But from the movie, it looked like they honestly had a ball. They had a good upbringing and they loved each other. And then the other thing that I wanted to point out was, have confidence. Have some motherfucking confidence, okay? These girls, they were 12 years old, but they knew inside themselves that they had the power to beat anybody they crossed. And I mean anybody. Like, I think in one of the interviews, Serena said, nah, I don't want to play like other players. I want other players to play like me. Period, sis. Know yourself, know your worth, know your value, have that confidence. But one thing that Richard did teach them was to be confident, not cocky. And in one scene, the girls were boasting a little bit about a win. He stopped the car and he said, no kids of mine will be bragging and boasting like that. He said, y'all need to be humble. And so it's possible to be confident and humble, I realize. And I just learned so much about the girls from this movie. And it's amazing to see how, yeah, they had a crazy kooky dad who was kind of annoying, but in the end, it all worked out for them. And Will Smith just performed like he always does. You know, he really had it down to Richard's mannerisms. If you compare Will Smith's performance to some archival footage of Richard Williams, he had it down to the accent. They had him looking scruffy. It was giving very much Pursuit of Happiness, okay? He didn't have a whole cut that whole movie. He had the little crooked bottom teeth. They must have put a prosthetic in. So yeah, man, this movie was really, really good. And it's just Black excellence at its finest. And I hope you all watch it and enjoy it as much as I did. So that concludes this bonus episode. Again, make sure you subscribe wherever you're listening or watching. Make sure you give me a rating and a review. And I'll be back with more episodes and movie recommendations. Bye.